The storm over the royal citadel rose like a dark crown as the twin moons drifted behind the clouds. Every tower of the grand structure hummed with ancient shields that held the hostile night at bay. In the vast hall below those towers, a single human stood between the throne and the path of danger. His name was Orion, one of the few Terran visitors allowed inside the dominion of the Loomer. He carried nothing but a ceremonial spear, given to him as a gesture of goodwill. Yet even that simple weapon felt heavy in his hands as the alarm rang through the corridors. Orion had served as an envoy, not a soldier, yet fate had placed him in the path of threat when raiders breached the outer defenses. They had come for the princess, Lyra, who had insisted on meeting the human alone in the grand chamber to discuss trade paths. When the attack began, she stood frozen with shock, while Orion placed himself before her with the instinct of someone who knew fear but chose action. The raiders stormed through the bronze doors of the citadel hall with a cry that echoed off the marble columns. Their armor gleamed silver under the lantern lights, and their curved blades reflected the etched murals that decorated the walls. The first raider lunged forward, expecting the unarmed envoy to falter. Orion pivoted and thrust the ceremonial spear into the gap of the raider's chestplate. The armor cracked. The attacker fell. Another raider swung wide, and Orion stepped in close, redirecting the strike and knocking the blade aside with the spear's shaft. The spark of it lit his determination brighter than the lantern flames. Lyra watched with awe. No Loomer warrior had reached her yet. No guard had come. Only the human stood against the tide. Orion's muscles ached, but adrenaline carried him through each strike. The raiders underestimated him. They saw only a human envoy with soft armor and no training in their martial art. Orion's resolve grew sharper with every attack blocked and every raider forced back. He fought with the desperation of someone who refused to let harm reach the one entrusted to him. His spear moved in arcs that the Loomer would later describe as elegant even in raw. Urgency. A raider slipped behind Orion's. Guard and drove a blade toward Lyra. Orion stepped into the attack and took the strike across his shoulder. Pain surged through him, white and fierce. He clenched his jaw, reached forward, and slammed his fist into the assailant's visor. The raider fell back. Orion raised the spear again and sent the attacker sprawling. When the guards finally entered the hall, they found the envoy bleeding, exhausted, yet still standing protectively before the princess. The last raider lay motionless at his feet. Lyra rushed to Orion's side as he staggered. She caught him before he fell and called for healers with a voice that shook with fear and gratitude. As Orion drifted into unconsciousness, he hoped the princess remained safe. He awoke in a chamber lined with pale curtains embroidered with luminescent threads. The air smelled of herbs, and the soft breeze from the open balcony carried the scent of the gardens outside. Orion sat up slowly. His shoulder had been wrapped with precise care, and the pain, though still present, no longer throbbed. At the foot of his bed sat the queen of the Loomer, Amara. Her presence filled the chamber with quiet strength. Her silver crest rose in an elegant arc along the top of her head, and the deep gold markings on her skin shifted faintly as if responding to her mood dot. She studied him with eyes that held the calm of the deepest night sky. Orion bowed instinctively. Amara raised a hand to stop him. "You defended my daughter with your life," she said. Her voice carried power, even in gentle tone. Orion swallowed. Any envoy would have done the same. "No," Amara replied. "Not any envoy. Not any warrior. You stood alone in a hall that even our strongest fighters would not cross without reinforcements. You fought with courage that surprises even my council." Orion lowered his gaze. "I did only what honor demanded." Amara stood. "It demanded more than most are willing to give." Lyra entered the chamber then, carrying a tray of fruit from the palace garden. Her expression brightened upon seeing him awake. She approached with careful steps, her movements graceful, though her concern was obvious. "You scared all of us," she said. "I never wish to see you collapse like that again." Orion smiled faintly. "I am glad you are unharmed." She hesitated, then set the tray beside him. "If you had not been there, the raiders would have taken me." "I will not forget what you did." Amara folded her hands behind her back. "There is a matter to address. Humans are known across the outer sectors for their resilience, but never have I seen one match a full raiding party alone." Orion's thoughts drifted to his training on the Terran frontier. The harsh storms, the minimal armor, the constant drills that taught quick thinking over formal technique. "I am no special fighter," he said. "I only knew I had to protect her." "That is exactly what makes this remarkable," Amara replied. For 2 days, Orion recovered under the royal healer's care. Lyra visited often, bringing stories of the Citadel, updates on the search for the raiders' origin, and questions about Earth. She laughed when he described Terran storms, saying they sounded like living beasts. He listened as she spoke of the Lumer traditions and the ancient armor forged from rare crystals mined in the far rings. Their conversations grew longer each day. On the 3rd morning, Orion requested an audience with the Queen. He wished to thank her for the care and then take his leave. His assignment as envoy had ended, and he believed the Lumer Court would prefer to return to normal operations without a wounded outsider occupying the medical chamber. The Queen granted the meeting in the throne hall. The tall crystal windows bathed the room in shifting colors as sunlight passed through the etched panes. When Orion stood before the throne, he bowed with respect. "Your Majesty," he said, "I am honored by your hospitality. Now that I have recovered enough to travel, I request permission to return to my vessel. I must report to my people and resume my duties." Silence filled the hall. Lyra stood at her mother's side, her face unreadable. Amara rose from her throne. "Permission is denied." Orion blinked. "Denied, Your Majesty?" Amara stepped down the dais until she stood before him. "You will not depart." Orion struggled to keep his composure. "May I ask why, Your Majesty?" "Because you have proven yourself invaluable," Amara replied. "Our realm has entered a turbulent era. The raiders who attacked my daughter belonged to a faction we believed dormant. Their resurgence threatens our stability. You, Orion of Terra, have shown potential that I cannot allow to leave my domain. Your presence is needed." Orion bowed again, though confusion clouded his thoughts. "I am honored, Your Majesty, but I must decline. I am sworn to my people and must return with my report." Amara's voice remained calm, yet firm. "I do not forbid your loyalty to your people. I forbid your departure until the threat is resolved. You will serve as advisor and defender to Lyra until I deem the realm safe again." Lyra stepped forward. "Mother speaks with seriousness, Orion. The raiders will try again. They have never failed to complete a capture. Until now." Orion felt a weight settle on his chest. He respected the Queen, admired Lyra's compassion, but he could not simply remain without consent from his own command. Yet he also understood that refusing could escalate tensions between their peoples. "My Queen," he said, "I am grateful, but I cannot be held against my will." "Held," Amara echoed. "No, you misunderstand." She pressed a hand to her chest. "I ask you to remain because your presence changes the morale of our people. Word of your defense has spread across the realm. Many seek to learn from you. Some believe it a sign that humans and Lumer are meant to form stronger bonds. I cannot send you away while our citizens look to you as a symbol of hope." Lyra looked at him with eyes filled with silent plea. "Please stay, not as a prisoner, as someone who matters." The sincerity in her voice, the weight of the Queen's words, and the memories of the battle filled Orion's mind. He thought of the raiders, of how close they had come to capturing Lyra, of how the Citadel guards had struggled to reach the hall in time. He remembered the fear in her eyes and the relief when she saw him stand again. "I will remain," he said slowly. "But I ask that my people be informed so they do not fear for my safety." "You have my word," Amara replied. From that day forward, Orion became a part of the palace guard's daily training. He showed them the Terran method of using momentum and leverage over brute force. The Loomer warriors, who had trained for years in their disciplined style, found his adaptable techniques fascinating. They listened to him with interest and practiced alongside him with respect. Lyra often joined the sessions, standing beside Orion as she learned the basics of human footwork. She laughed when she misstepped, teased him when he corrected her, and listened with care when he explained how humans fought to protect not only their leaders, but their communities and families. Through weeks of shared practice, patrols and conversations, Orion grew closer to the princess. Her curiosity about humanity seemed boundless. She asked about Terran music, Terran celebrations, and even the simplicity of Terran home life. He learned in turn about the Loomer seasonal festivals, the meaning of their shifting skin patterns, and the sense of unity that defined their culture. Warned raids came and went, but none breached the Citadel again. Orion worked beside the Queen's Council, offering insight into patterns of attacks. His presence helped unify the Guard. Slowly, the threat diminished.